Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see from the title, we are doing Form 4 Chapter 2 today. Actually, I didn't plan to do this chapter, just that I received some of the comments and some of the DMs from my Insta. Some of the students asked me to do Form 4 Chapter 2 because they think that they don't understand it. So here we go, Form 4 Chapter 2. I'm going to teach you the basic stuff for Form 4 Chapter 2, which is the organelle and function, because I think that this part is the most important part in SKM as well. No matter which form are you in right now, I think it's the most important part. So I actually choose this for this video content, okay, which is very, very important. You should be able to understand and you should be able to remember the function as well, okay? So let's get started for Form 4 Chapter 2, okay? I think for Form 4 Chapter 2, the most important part that you have to know first, okay, first, I'm not saying that the rest are not important, but the first part is actually the animal cell and plant cell. Number one, you have to know about the differences. What is the difference between animal cell and plant cell? Number one, we know that plant cell has a large vacuole, plant cell has cell wall, plant cell has chloroplast. I think this is the most basic thing that we have learned it in the lower form. But the question is, does animal cell has a vacuole? The answer is yes. Animal cell has many vacuoles, just that their vacuoles are smaller in size and more in size. That is the difference between animal cell and plant cell. Of course, besides that, we have to learn about the other differences as well, just that we haven't learned yet, so that's why I can explain to you what is the other difference about animal cell and plant cell. Okay, now, based on this diagram, can you see all of the labeling here? These are the labelings that you have to know in this video, entire thing. It looks very complicated, but actually it's not very complicated. It's quite simple. The similarity and differences, I will not go through that. I will only go through that when we finish the functions and the organelles structure, okay? So the most important part about that is you have to know about recognizing the structure of the cell, right? In the cell, right? So what are the structure we can find in the cell? Actually, there are two parts. One is organelle, one is non-organelle. I know that you don't learn it in your KSSM syllabus anymore. Just for you to know, there are actually two things. One is organelle, one is non-organelle. Okay, now what is organelle? What is non-organelle? We put it in a very simple term, okay? Organelle means they are in a cell, okay? They are in a cell. We call it organelle. The organ is in the cell, okay? The thing is in the cell, we call it in a cell. Then for non-organelle, it means what? They are not in a cell, okay? They are not in a cell. We call it as a non-organelle, okay? Organelle, non-organelle. We're gonna start from non-organelle first. So why? Because non-organelle only got three what? Plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and cell wall. There's only three non-organelle. So first of all, as I mentioned, right, non-organelle, they are not in the cell, okay? They are not inside the cell. We have plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and cell wall. What is a plasma membrane? Plasma membrane is equivalent to your cell membrane. Can you write cell membrane in your exam? No, your answer cannot be cell membrane. It must be plasma membrane, okay? It must be plasma membrane. What is the characteristic of the plasma membrane? What is the function of a plasma membrane? Okay, guys, whenever you look at these notes, right, okay, the notes that I prepared, can you see there is these two symbol thing? One is triangular shape, one is the dot in shape. The triangular shape is actually the characteristic apply to all, okay? Characteristic, this is actually the function. Okay, not all organelle you have to know about the characteristic, but you have to know about the function, okay? It says plasma membrane, it is semi-permeable. What is the function of a cell membrane that you've learned it previously? Cell membrane is to allow substances to move in and out of the cell, right? We call it as a cell membrane. It's the same, guys. When it comes to biology, whatever you learn in your lower form, it must be completely the same. It cannot be different, okay? You cannot learn that Form 3, you use your eyes to see. Form 4, you learn what? Form 4, you learn that eyes you use to breathe. No, right? It must be the same. Just like in Form 4 biology, you learn a higher level version, like an improved version, advanced version of it. So same towards biology as well. Whatever you learn here is the same, just that you have to learn an improved version, okay? So plasma membrane, it has a keyword. What is the keyword? It only allows certain substances to pass through, okay? Certain is a keyword because if you have watched the video that I posted last week, I teach about plasma membrane, the structure, the fluid mosaic model, then you should be able to understand why is certain so important when you write about the function of a plasma membrane. It only allows certain substances to move in and out. This is the function of plasma membrane that we have to write. Remember, certain is important. If you now write the word certain, your answer might be wrong. Okay, so remember, certain is important. So this is the function of plasma membrane that everybody's known, okay? Semi-permeable only allows certain substances to move in and out of the cell. Next one, we have cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is a space in the middle. Okay, we call it as a jelly-like medium. Medium is like a space, okay? So the function of this cytoplasm is to allow biochemical reaction to take place. Previously, you all learned chemical reaction in Form 3, right? Why is it called biochemical? Because in biology, when we learn bio means what? Living things. So this chemical reaction happens in the living things. For example, digestion, for example, whatever process, respiration happens in the living thing, we call it as a chemical reaction that happens in the living thing, biochemical reaction. Okay, cytoplasm. Next one, we have a cell wall. Okay, cell wall, very important. Number one, in order to maintain a shape of a cell, this is what we know, right? To maintain the shape of a cell, right? In order to maintain the shape of a cell, the cell wall must be strong and rigid. This is the characteristic. If you want to mention about the mechanical support and to maintain the shape, the characteristic is what? Strong and rigid. Okay, strong and rigid is very, very important. Next one, made up of cellulose. This is also important. What is the cellulose? Cellulose is a type of sugar that is not sweet. It's a cellulose. Sugar that is not sweet, we call it as a cellulose. Okay, it's permeable to all fluid. It means can allow all fluid to move in and out, unlike plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is semi-permeable. This is fully permeable. Okay, why plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and cell wall? It is not organelle. Like for example, we have a house. Okay, you're staying in a house. Okay, let's say your house. Your house is a cell wall. Okay, your room is a plasma membrane. The space in your room is a cytoplasm. Are they inside your room? No, they are not inside your room. What is inside your room? Your bed is in your room. Your wardrobe is in your room. Your table is in your room. Your laptop is in your room. Those are the things that is inside your room, right? Those are known as a organelle. The house is not inside. The room is not inside. The space is not as well. The thing that is inside we call it as organelle. So what is in the cell? What is inside the cell? What can you find? Nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast. Those are the things that can be found inside the cell, right? We call it as organelle. Okay, let's look at what can be found inside the cell. First of all, of course, we have the nucleus, because why? Nucleus is the most important organelle in the cell. Without nucleus, basically the entire thing cannot function anymore. So this is nucleus. Okay, what is the function of nucleus? To control all cell activity. Okay, to control all cell activity of the cell. Okay, now besides this control all cell activity, what is the other function? Contains of DNA. Okay, genetic material we call it as DNA. Like for example, why would people have blue eyes, blonde hair? It's because that their DNA determine the characteristic of the cell. For example, why people are tall, why some people are not so tall, why people they have bigger eyes, why people have dimple. Everything here is determined by the DNA. What it follows the gene, right? DNA is a short form, right? What is the full name for DNA? We call it as deoxyribonucleic acid. That's why we have exam. Is it a must for you to write deoxyribonucleic acid? Okay, for some it's a must. For a certain school, okay, you must write deoxyribonucleic acid. But if your teacher okay with DNA, then it's totally fine. And you only have to write deoxyribonucleic acid for your first term exam. In SPM, you can write DNA. Don't worry about it. Only your first term, because you know, right? First term exam for Form 4, right? Nothing to ask. What they ask you? They ask you spelling, right? Okay, that is the thing that they're gonna ask you. They ask you spelling. So this is what we call deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay. Now, two functions. One is control all cell activity. One is contains of genetic material, which is DNA. And if you notice, right, there's a lot of labeling inside. We have nucleus, nucleoplasm, nuclear envelope, and nuclear pore. Most of the time, they don't ask you the labeling of all of these things, and they don't ask you about the function. But if your teacher teach you, I think they will only teach you labeling part. Okay. The other importance of nucleus is what? It has a double membrane. What does double membranes mean? Double means two layers. So they have two layers of membrane. We call it as double membrane. Besides nucleus, what are the things with double membrane? For example, mitochondria, double membrane. Chloroplast, double membrane. So in the organelle, we only have three things with double membrane: nucleus, mitochondria, and chloroplast. Okay, what is the mitochondria? Because this is a new thing, right? Mitochondria is like a power station, guys. It's like a power station. You know, in Malaysia, right, we have power station called TNB, Tenaga Nasional Berhad, right? It's called TNB, right? In human, we also have this power station, but we cannot generate electricity because TNB is electrical energy, right? We have a lot of form of energy, electrical energy, chemical energy. We have different form, right? In human body, we can only generate energy in a form of ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. Tri means three, yeah. Okay, so it's like P plus P. Okay, so it's like 3P lah. Okay, phosphate, 3-phosphate. Okay, adenosine triphosphate. It must be a form of energy can be found in the body. Why human cannot have electrical energy or whatever energy? Just imagine you have electrical city energy, like electrical energy, right? You're like a Pokemon, guys. You're not even a human. You're like a Pikachu, okay? So we cannot be a electrical energy. We can only generate energy in the form of ATP. So ATP is a form of energy. It's like electrical chemical is a form of energy. So how human, okay, how a cell generate energy? We have to generate energy by a process called cellular respiration. Okay, generate energy by a process called cellular respiration. Then you will wonder, what is a cellular respiration? I believe that you are in Asia, right? Your parents always tell you, you know, eat rice. Where got energy? Have you guys heard of this thing from your parents? If you don't eat enough rice, where does the energy come from? This sentence actually makes sense. It's a legit sentence. Maybe your parents don't know what is the meaning of eating rice giving you energy kind of thing. Actually, it's like that. The one that you eat rice, right? All of the carbohydrate, right? It contains of glucose, okay? Glucose must be oxidized, okay? They will oxidize to produce into energy. There are three products, carbon dioxide and water. Basically, this is the process of cellular respiration. Means what? Your glucose will be oxidized into energy. That's why your parents, whatever your parents say, it makes sense. You know, eat rice, no energy. This is what it comes from. We call it as a cellular respiration. Now, mitochondria also got double layer, right? How does this double layer look like? You can see you have inner membrane and outer membrane. Okay, look into it. The inner membrane, it is a folded membrane. What is the purpose of folded membrane? Folded membrane is to increase total surface area. When the surface area is becoming bigger and bigger, right? It means what? They can generate more energy. So that is a function of a folded membrane. Folded membrane increase surface area, generate more energy. That's why we have a folded membrane. Just imagine if you take the folded membrane, right? You fold the paper and you open it up. Actually, it's bigger. It's larger in size. So this is mitochondria. Next one, we have chloroplast. Everyone should know what is a chloroplast because why? Chloroplast only can be found in plant cell and it contains of a color pigment known as a chlorophyll, which is a green pigment we call it as a chlorophyll. So what is the function of chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is supposed to trap light energy and convert into chemical energy during photosynthesis. I think this one everybody knows, right? But where does the chlorophyll come from? The chlorophyll actually comes from a place called granum. This one you don't have to learn yet, but just for you to know because you're going to learn in the future anyway. So granum is this stack thing, the stack of coin. Can you see there's a stack of thing here? This one, we call it as granum, okay, granum. So it contains of chlorophyll, okay. So like a coin thing, we call it granum. So it's like one by one. It's like you have a tower, KLCC tower. The tower is granum. Each of the level we call it as a stalactites. But you don't have to learn right now, just for you to know only, okay. Chloroplast also got two membrane, the inner membrane and outer membrane. So in exam, they will ask you, what is the similarity between mitochondria and chloroplast? You only have one similarity, only one. The similarity is what? They both have double membrane. Only got one, no others already, only one, which is double membrane. Mitochondria and chloroplast, they both have double membrane. You cannot talk about energy because that is the wrong answer. You cannot say both are oval in shape. Also wrong answer, must be double membrane. You know, some school, right, they are quite budget, budget in the sense of they don't have a lot of money to print color exam paper, right? It must be black and white. Sometimes black and white, right? Your teacher will draw the diagram. Instead of like the copy black and white, they will draw a diagram. So for a mitochondria, if your teacher draw, right, it looks like a cloud. Okay, it's like an oval shape and there's a cloud inside. Okay, so this is how it looks like if a teacher draw. If it's a chloroplast, it looks like that, double membrane, first layer, second layer, and you have a stack of coin, like, you know, Baymax, like Baymax, there's a cartoon called Baymax, right? So this is the diagram that they will draw if it's a budget school, okay? This is how it looks like. Next one, we have vacuole. Okay, vacuole, it can be found larger in size for plant cell. Why? Because plant cell, they requires water, which is the vacuole, to maintain turgidity. Turgidity is a form of support, okay? So they will support the plant cell, especially non-woody plant, which called as a herbaceous plant. They will use it as a support. What does it contain of? Of course, we all know that it contains of cell sap, right? So cell sap has water, amino acid, sugar, organic substances, enzyme, mineral, salt, oxygen, carbon dioxide. There's so many examples. In exam, you can only choose like 2 or 3 to remember. I think the easiest one will be the gases and water, mineral, salt. I think that will be the easiest one. But anything that you prefer also can. You just choose 2 to 3 to remember for backward. Okay. Next one, lysosome. Okay, lysosome is a new thing. Lysosome is like a human stomach, similar to human stomach. Why? Because for lysosome, it contains of an enzyme. Like human, we have a stomach. Well, stomach also contains of enzyme, right? For human, we contains of proteins, right? For them, it contains of an enzyme called hydrolytic enzyme. Hydrolytic enzyme, also known as lysozyme. So for me, I think that lysozyme is easier to remember. Lysosome contains of lysozyme. Easier, right? So back to human again. What is the function of your enzyme in your stomach? Is to digest food, right? Same goes to lysozyme. They are used to digest substances. For example, they will digest organic molecules, they will digest bacteria, digest damaged organelle. Okay, so for example, right, let's say the chlorophyll is not working well anymore. So you cannot store something that is malfunction in a cell, right? So this lysosome, you will use the enzyme, which is lysozyme, to digest the chloroplast, or they will digest the vacuole, or whatever thing also can. So it's like a stomach. So it's quite important for you, for a cell to have a lysosome. It's like a breaker thing, digestion happens thing. Okay, without this thing, you cannot digest the food, digest whatever thing that is going inside the cell. Okay, lysosome. Next one, ribosome. Okay, ribosome, if you notice, there's no diagram, there's nothing here, no dot, nothing at all. Why? Because ribosome is too small. Kind of don't deserve a diagram. Okay, so okay, we talk about the function of ribosome first. Ribosome function is to synthesize protein. Student will ask me, teacher, what is synthesize? Synthesize means produce. Then they will ask, teacher, can I write produce protein? No, synthesize will be a better choice. Synthesize protein. Don't write produce protein, I write synthesize protein. Then you will wonder, where can you find a ribosome? Let's look at the next diagram. This next diagram we call it as rough endoplasmic reticulum. In short, rough ER or RER. Exam. None of the exam will accept RER and rough ER. No. Okay, rough endoplasmic reticulum. We have 2 types of endoplasmic reticulum. One is a rough, one is smooth. Can you see? One is rough, one is smooth, right? Okay, the difference is what? The rough on top, you can see there is dot, 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 right? This dot, 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 dot is basically the ribosome. The ribosome. So ribosome is attached with the rough endoplasmic reticulum that makes it rough. Ribosome is on top of the rough ER to make it rough. Okay, so what is the function of a rough ER? Just now we learned about ribosome is to produce protein, right? So rough ER is to transport protein from where to where? Okay, they will transport protein from the rough ER to the Golgi apparatus. Okay, later we learn about Golgi apparatus. So from the rough ER to Golgi apparatus. When you transport, right, you requires a transporter. It's like, for example, from a PJ, you want to go to KL, like KLCC lah, whatever lah. You can take what? You can take Grab car lah, you can take bus lah, you can take LRT lah, you can take MRT, you can take KTM, right? You have so many ways to go to the place. Same goes to this. If you want to transport certain things, you need a transporter. This transporter called what? Is known as a transport vesicle. Vesicle usually comes in a round shape. And most of the vesicle in biology, it must contain of things inside. Okay, they must contain of certain things inside. What do they contain of? It contains of, obviously, this is protein lah. Okay, it contains of protein inside. Inside content is protein. Okay, so we go to Golgi apparatus later on. Okay, before we go to Golgi apparatus, let's look at the smooth ER first. Why is it called a smooth ER? Because it has nothing on top. It's smooth. Okay, what makes it smooth? Okay, it says it used to synthesize lipid. What is synthesized? As I mentioned, produce, right? Lipid is what? Lipid is fats. Fats is called lipid and is involved in detoxification of drugs. Okay, about drugs, it can be medication called drugs. Okay, detoxification means you want to remove these drugs out from your body. For example, when you have Panadol, when you have all kind of medication, right? You cannot store the medication in your body, right? It must be removed out from the body. They will use a smooth ER. So where can you find most of the smooth ER? It can be found most abundantly. Abundantly means a lot in the liver. Okay, well, quite as liver cell lah. Liver, it has the most. So liver has a lot of smooth ER. So that's why liver has the same function as well, is to carry out detoxification. Every medication, if you want to remove it, they must pass through the smooth ER. Okay, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now, Golgi apparatus is a mention, right? Where does the Golgi apparatus substances come from? From the rough ER, right? From the rough ER, right? To the Golgi apparatus, right? So rough Golgi apparatus, right? It's like a factory, which I believe some of you been to certain factory in Malaysia before, like Maggie factory lah, high five bread factory lah, chocolate factory lah. Every factory almost has the same process. Okay, let's talk about a bread factory. In order to produce a bread, I don't know how many of you went to a factory before. Hopefully that you guys have some childhood lah, because I think this is like a primary graduationship kind of things. I don't know lah, okay. So, in bread factory, right, we have a lot of different flavor. In order to make a bread, what do you need? You need to have flour. You need to have yeast. You need to have the flavor that you want, right? Chocolate, butterscotch or whatever, right? So first, you have the flour, you have the water, you have the egg, you have to process them together, you have to modify them, right? Now, you can add chocolate to modify it. After you create this chocolate bread, right? Like created this chocolate bread, right? You cannot just send like that to the factory, right? What are you going to do? You're going to package them. When you package, they don't sell it in the factory. Where do they sell it? In KK Mart, supermarket, right? So you must transport the bread to a certain branch, right? In order to sell it. Same as Golgi apparatus. It has the same function as a factory. Why? Because you can see process, modify, package or sort and transport. In short, you can remember as P and P S T. Okay, this one you can choose one lah. You want to write package or sort also can, but usually I'll write all lah. So it has the same function as your bread factory or whatever factory. Process, modify, package, sort, and transport. But you cannot write bread. You have to write the example, which is protein, because they are from protein, right? The rough ER transport protein, right? So they are actually protein. You have protein, you have carbohydrate. So most of the time, they will modify the protein into enzyme. Why is it enzyme? Because most of the enzyme, they are made of protein. We will learn that later in the back part, okay? Now, whenever you want to transport, right, can you see the word transport here? As I mentioned, whenever you transport, what do you need? You need the transporter, correct? Transporter, right? So just now we learned about what? We have a transport vesicle from the rough ER to the Golgi apparatus. This one here is another vesicle called what? Secretory vesicle. Secretory vesicle also, it is a round shape and it has thing inside. Now, right now, what is inside? Just now we have protein inside, right? This one, we have enzyme, okay? We have enzyme inside because usually they will modify protein into enzyme. So they have enzyme inside lah. So basically, ribosome can be found on rough ER. So rough ER will transport to Golgi apparatus. Yeah. Golgi apparatus, and it will be transported out or within the cell. Within cell, okay? So from the rough ER to the Golgi apparatus, what do you use? You use a transport vesicle. Golgi apparatus transported out or used within the cell, they will use secretory vesicle. So that's why it's important for you to know who is the transporter. Okay. So the last one is what? The last one is a centriole. Some teacher pronounce as centroles, whatever. Okay, centrioles. So centrioles can only be found in animal cell. Only animal cell has. Plant cell don't have. Why? Because it says what? It will form spindle fiber during cell division. What is a cell division? Cell division is like a binary fission. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8 we call it as a cell division, binary fission. Then you'll wonder, what is a spindle fiber? Spindle fiber is like a string-like structure. It will pull the chromosome to the opposite pole in order for them to form into two cells. Okay, I know that it's very hard for you to understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to show you the process over here, okay? So this is the diagram that I think you can see from here, right? Okay. So can you see in this diagram, right? You can see in this video, you can see there are two things here, right? Two yellow color thing. That is known as a centroles. So one animal cell, they must have two centroles, centrioles or whatever, okay? Centrioles, and then they'll move to opposite pole. Can you see there's a line here? The line there we call it as a spindle fiber. So spindle fiber is actually the one that they will form from the centrioles. So with this line here, right? They will have to pull the blue color thing. This blue color thing we call it as a chromosome. So they will pull them to the opposite pole in order for them to form into two cells. Okay, later on you can see there are two cells. Okay, you can see there are two cell formation here. So this is an important process for the plant cell, sorry, for the animal cell. Okay, so this is how centrioles work. So it's very, very, very important for them to have this process. So actually, we are done with the organelles and non-organelles. So if you have any question regarding about the organelles and non-organelles, you can ask me. And this is a very, very important part that you have to know, because if you don't know about this part, right, it's very hard for you to continue in biology. So if you have any question, you can comment below or you can Insta DM me. Okay, so I see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.